I think we're live. Vlada,
Yes, we are
welcome.
live. Hello.
Hi, everyone. This is Vlada and Anna, and today we are chewing on this.
That's
Actually,
right.
let me kick it off because today our episode is going to be structured a little bit differently. But first off, quick introduction for those of you who are joining for the first time. I'm Anna Gandrabura, founder of English for IT and a co-host of this amazing lunchtime show Chew on This. And with me, my partner in crime is Vlada. Vlada, quick intro.
Absolutely. I'm an exited founder. I haven't built and scaled my edtech platform and developed a love for our topic today, which is product market fit. I
Awesome.
think that's something that should be front and center for an entrepreneur, whether they're starting out, whether they've scaled to millions of users, dollars, whatever that is. That product market fit is the holy grail of scaling.
Before we dive into it, and today, the way we're gonna do it, I'm gonna be the interviewer because Vlada is an absolute expert on product market fit. And of course, I wanna learn from her, and I want you guys to learn from her. So that's like a double value for me here, too. But before we dive into it, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, make sure you follow us on Instagram, on YouTube. All you need to do is just either check the message that we drop in the description to this video, or just Google Anna Gandrabura, Vlada Lotkina, and you will find all the links. Right. So today we're talking about product market fit, and right off the bat, I mean, I'm not sure what who's watching this, but I just want to make sure everyone is comfortable. Vlada, what is product market fit? What are we? What is this? What are we talking about today?
Yeah. Well, so the fun thing about product market fit is that it has many definitions, and many of them are, I would say, very unsettling because they're emotional but not concrete. So, for example, right, we know the famous definition, make something people want, right, by Paul Graham. There are other definitions of when you have this feeling that the product is pulled out of you and customers are just knocking on all your doors and you just can't produce enough, right? And another definition I've read from Sam Altman is saying when people spontaneously refer other users, other customers to you, and they just are so thrilled about their experience that they just have to share. Right. And so I think what's common about these definitions is it's clear when you sort of have it, but it's also unsettling because you don't know what to do to get there.
Oh my God. Yeah. Sorry about that. But
You
my
are
computer just,
speechless. Anna was speechless
I was
after all.
speechless. My computer just froze for a second and it didn't react to the cursor that I was trying to unmute myself. So in other words, when we talk about product market fit, we talking about having customers, right? Not only product, but having customers and customers who want to have or to use what you've built and who want to share it, right? I really like what Sam Altman said about this because I feel like for me personally, when I know that my product, this the product that I have developed, when it is being shared like word of mouth or any other way, this is definitely a sign that okay, people need this. I did a great job. Let's scale it, right? Speaking of scaling and speaking of getting that product market fit, Vlada. Now here's a question. What are the top questions that you as a founder or as a product person should ask when trying to get that product market fit? Maybe you have like top 3 or top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say that um, the danger of starting customer development process, I hope that whomever is doing it right now is listening really, really carefully. The danger of starting customer development process after creating a solution, that you become a solution looking for a problem. That's a much harder place to be in, right? And that also happens even when you have a very precise idea about what you want to build, right? And you just start building as opposed to actually starting from validation, and validation ideally also voting with dollars and the actual commitment from the customer. So I think when it comes to the discovery process before you have customers, or potentially if you're looking to expand your market, maybe into a new vertical or a new product, right? You would start. I like to combine surveys and interviews because surveys are much faster. They scale faster to more people, so you can have more quantitative data points and then follow up with surveys. So I think in this case, what I like to focus on, number one, is finding that unmet important problem, right? And there are only two questions that you need to ask in, let's say, a survey form to actually understand it. One is, how important is solving this problem to you, right, on a scale from 1 to 10? And then the second question is, how satisfied are you with how that problem is solved today, right? And so obviously, if you have a very important problem and dissatisfied with how it's being addressed, then you have something. Then you can proceed to step two, which is really looking for what I like to call a customer value map, where you are trying to understand not only that it's an important and unmet need, but that there is money and budget attached to solving it, because the world is full of problems that people are not willing to pay to solve. And but also world is full of problems that perhaps cannot be solved yet based on limitations of technology, or you can't come up with differentiated solution that would be 2, 5, 10x better than whatever else already exists, right? And so that's sort of what customer map is, and that's, I think, what's best addressed through the discovery and the interview process, because you can go much deeper, right? You can ask about how they're solving, how did they try, how much they're paying, and really untangle things that are surrounding the problem. And so there are some really great techniques. I'll not go into detail on this, but there is one called jobs to be done. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a really cool one. And a famous example is milkshake. When Clayton Christensen talked about um, work he did with Dunkin' Donuts, and it turned out that milkshake was actually hired as a companion for the commute, as opposed to just being a milkshake. And so now you understand so much more about how long it should take you to drink that milkshake, and some other shapes that it should fit into, the right space in your car, and other design elements and whatnot that have to be important as far as milkshake is concerned, depending on the function, right? And so I think that's a great methodology. The other one I love is called 5 Whys, where you continuously dig deeper and deeper into the underlying reasons, because that's the exact language that you would want to use talking to the customers, understanding the underlying beliefs and underlying needs that they have.
I love it. So technically, my take on what you just shared, you can follow these frameworks that are, popular and out there in product management, technically, right, in the world. But depending on what your product is, and depending on the stage of the development, depending on many other things, probably the industry and everything, the questions are going to be different, right? The
That's
questions, you will have to come up with the questions based on your unique case, right? Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. I do like the 5 Whys technique. I feel like this technique can be applicable to so many things besides even product development, but also like
I know.
personality
Next time,
development.
Anna, we meet up for dinner. We'll do the
We'll do
the
the why.
questioning.
Oh my god, really? Okay, yeah, like we do this technique. I totally agree. So, Vlada, let's you built Class Tag, a big ad tech successful company, and when I just want you to share this, like your personal story with Class Tag. When was that pivotal moment when you realized that okay, the product that we built is meeting, I mean, fits the market. By the way, for those of you who don't know about your company, feel free to kind of, describe what Class Tech like was doing back in the day, and like what was the product back in the day, because
Right.
you might have changed it down the road, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like any journey, right, it's full of twists and turns. I'm yet to meet a founder who would say, well, my company's product is exactly like I've imagined it on day one, right? I don't think that exists, right? The mission many times stays the same, but how you solve it really changes because you're in market, you're constantly learning, growing, and developing. And I think that's how it should be. um, Company is a living organism, and it needs to continue to evolve to external changes, but most importantly to the needs of the people it serves. And so, to that point, I think something we've done very consistently at ClassTag, and I think that was really, really important, is we use this another framework, which is called Very Disappointed Framework. And I think it was used in some really high growth companies over the years. And I think Sean Ellis was the one who came up with it. But what is really cool about it is ask only one simple question: how disappointed would you be if you could no longer use the product?
That's a
And
dangerous question.
that's a dangerous
You
question,
know,
but that
I mean, not
means,
dangerous, but like you don't really want to hear that, like, the answer that you don't
yeah.
want to hear.
And right. And despite being a management consultant by trade, I actually like this question much more than a traditional net promoter score or an NPS question about would you recommend, because I don't think that there is as much emotion involved in answering that question. And so what is really cool is that it gives you a very simple benchmark. If you have more than 40% of people very disappointed that they cannot use your product, then you've met that threshold. You're actually doing something that changes people's lives and playing an important role in whatever problem solution that you are doing. And so we've done that fairly consistently over a number of years. And the other cool part of this technique is that then you can see the group that is somewhat disappointed. So they're not your super fans, but they're next one down. And that group, from a product perspective, is really, really important because they're just one level down from those super fans. And so if you really listen carefully to their needs and wants, then you can move more of them into that highest tier, right? But at the same time, from go to market perspective, you want to get more of these super fans. So you really want to understand everything about their professions if you have multiple people. So in our case at ClassTech, we only had teachers, but we actually learned that a lot of these super fans were, let's say, Title I teachers that had very diverse communities. And so we actually doubled down in our marketing messaging on translation, on really technological divide, and how the magic messaging of ClassTag was really smart, which allowed a teacher to send one message and then it was magically or automatically routed according to parent preferences: email, SMS, app, web, voice, or even paper, and then in the language of their preference. And so that became really the core of our messaging, because we understood that that's really the magic that superfans sign up for and experience. But we also uncovered, Anna, that we didn't make it easy for people to understand that that magic is happening, right? And so then we had to really look carefully at our onboarding experience, and saying, how can we expose that magic to the teacher who is sending their first message, so that they can understand that it's auto routed as different channels, that is being translated, right? How can we expose that magic to give them hints that that's the work that the platform is doing for them, because all of that otherwise remains hidden as the part of sort of the value that they might never know is there, right? And so that, going through that process, and we did it pretty much quarterly, looking at the themes, and that allowed us to not only change our focus in our targeting, but also evolve our product and onboarding experience, first time user experience, which is really, really key to to product quality, because the product might be amazing, but if you can't lead the horse to the water,
Yeah.
then nothing else matters.
People really like learning from failure stories, right? Any stories that you can share about the time when the product wasn't clicking? It doesn't have to be like your personal story with class tag. Maybe a story that, like a famous story, something that the when the product wasn't clicking with the market. So what was why was it, and like how what people, what did you do, or what people did to turn it around?
Yeah. Well, I think what really shocked me initially, but then it sort of made sense in the hindsight, is that let's say we had teachers who were switching to our platform from competing platforms. And so as they were onboarding, we were asking them what did they use before and why did they switch. And we had really, once we sort of doubled down on this magic messaging and translation, we had a lot of teachers who were coming to us, for example, saying, well, I switched to your platform because that other platform doesn't do translation. Well, I very well know that it does.
Okay.
But where they failed was that first time user experience and user education. So these whole host of hundreds of teachers were escaping their product because they believe that there is no value that actually is built into the platform. And I think that that is a really, really dangerous thing. And we just, that's why listening to customers is such an important and ongoing function, whether you have 10 customers or 10,000 customers.
So technically, people will be willing to switch to a completely new technology just for this one feature, just for this one feature. And if you as a company fail to onboard your users properly and show them that you have the features, they will be like willing to switch, right? They will
That's
be
been my
willing to betray
experience.
you. Yeah, that this is amazing, because at the end of the day, I mean, this is amazing for several reasons. First, I mean, I would imagine it is difficult for people to adapt to new technology, right? Like, for example, every time you, like at English for IT, we just launched a new service on the new platform. And, this is a new platform, and we technically were worried and concerned how people are going to get used to it, because, like, there's education involved in there, right? So people, don't like change, right? That's why changing. But you see, like, even for this one little feature, people will
Right.
be willing to embrace this change and the discomfort of the change that they get because of that one feature. Well, good for you, Vlada, that they
Yeah,
didn't break you. But
I
if
didn't
your
tell them. I
competitors,
didn't tell them that the
oh
competitors
my God,
have
I
that
still don't
feature.
know.
They still don't know. But that aside, I think that's why product market fit is so critical, because what I'm seeing a lot of folks doing, and certainly I've tried that myself, and I can say it doesn't really work, is having multiple personas, and that brings you to having multiple offerings and different channels, right? And so that just muddies the water, because what then you have to do is to execute perfectly on 5, 10 different permutations of things. And so that's why I love the idea of not only what is your revenue, but what is your product market fit revenue. And so that means
What
is
is
like,
that? How is that different from the revenue?
that's how much revenue you make with a single customer in a single use case. It's
Mm.
not everything. I sell this to, I don't know, grandmothers over there, and then to I don't know, carpenters over there, or and maybe the offer is slightly different, right? It is um, one offer and one customer, and that what allows you to build a scalable machine, um, and predictably scalable machine, right? And until you have that to the tune of at least $1 million, you can. And that was why one of the reasons why we never actually, Classtag moved past elementary teachers, because we started from teachers who were in these Title I schools, and then we went to, special needs teachers, and then general elementary teachers, etc. There are millions of teachers in the United States, and yes, we knew that there are some middle school teachers and some high school teachers that don't find our platform perfect for their needs, but that was by design because we had our core persona in the early days, which was that elementary teacher.
That's amazing. Yeah. So technically, you're just proving the famous, I would say, business trainers and coaches' opinion on being focused on. In the recent book that I read, they recommend staying focused on not more than three things. So maybe I can imagine having like maybe three channels or three products within like the big company would be something that is feasible. Yeah, and also, when you just um, when you're focused on this like one thing, it helps you being like all in. So definitely thanks for the tip. The time is flying here. I
Yeah,
have another question before we wrap up, Vlada. So what would so you're now an established exited founder, and Vlada, what was it, 10 years ago or more when you just started the company?
right.
Um, what three pieces of advice would you tell your earlier yourself as an earlier founder at the beginning of your journey? Like it can be, regardless whether it's a product market fit or anything else.
All right. Great question. So number one is burn bridges. I do believe that if you are an early, first time founder and you are trying to make something succeed, you just have to know that failure is not an option. And someone recently actually asked me about it. It's like, how did you persevere through 100 no's from investors, from whatever else, you have to go through? And I was like, well, I didn't know there was another option, right? And I think that's the mindset one needs to have. It doesn't mean that the business you're starting with is the business, right? And that actually is my second piece of advice is, yes, you have to burn bridges and know that failure is not an option, but it doesn't mean that the first idea you started with is the idea, right? There are so many examples of, let's say, Slack that was built out of a gaming company that failed as an internal communication tool. There is, I think Instagram was a similar example when they started this completely different business, right? So there are these massive businesses that are built on the back of failed ones, right? So something failing, I think, is really like in science. It's an experiment, and your answer can be yes, accept the hypothesis, or no, reject, right? And so that's as simple as that. Put your ego aside and just go there as a true scientist, digging for gold, digging for these unresolved important problems that you're really well positioned to solve and build a business around. So that's my second piece of advice is be a scientist and reject ego. Ego is not involved in this process. And number three is surround yourself with great mentors. They can be folks that are on a shared journey with you. So there's also starting businesses. There are folks maybe a step ahead of you. They maybe got some first traction, first funding, some first signals. And so they still remember exactly the steps that they've taken. And there are so many amazing resources now. Find people either virtually or through a variety of programs. I know for me, when I was starting from with ClassTag, it was critical to get that mentorship. I was really, I think, a lot of those mistakes that were avoided. Not all of them were avoided, but those that were thanks to great mentors around me. So
I love it, Vlada. I love it. I wrote everything down and I want to share it on LinkedIn after our episode is over. And I really love this that you mentioned about, checking your ego at the door. And I think when, again, going back to what you said about these big companies like Instagram and Facebook and maybe even Airbnb, I don't remember, but a lot of them, they pivoted completely, right? But I think what mattered was the founders' ambition to build something great, right? And they were like determined to build it no matter what. If it takes to pivot, they pivot, right? But this determination and resilience to keep going, and I feel like, when people are questioning failures, right? Like, how could you keep moving when you failed? Again, I feel like, if so I often say that if you think about failure, you don't be an entrepreneur, right? Like, don't be a founder, don't
The
like.
odds are not there to
Yeah,
be
because
concerned about
like,
it.
to be honest, if you're worried about failing, you're not an entrepreneur, you're not a founder, and this is great. I feel this is a quick test for everyone. If you guys are afraid of failure, you can be a great executive, right? You can be a great executive. You can work for a huge company. You can build a great career as part of the another organization. But being a founder, being an entrepreneur, and worrying about failing, and like, feelings when you of failures, this is not good. So yeah, thank you so much, Father, for sharing so many useful insights. I think we should break this video into smaller pieces and share with our
Yes,
crowd. What do you think?
and lots to chew on. I think
I know.
I'm full. I hope you guys are too.
Yeah,
I say.
I mean, I was hungry, but now I feel like, semi full at this point, and I'm excited to share with my team, to kind of like, maybe to review our product market fit with the five whys. Jobs to be done is a lot of work. I'm not sure the the team is going to be doing that, but the satisfaction. How dissatisfied are you? That's easy, but I mean, that's easy. That's just one question to ask, but such an important question. So I have some homework after this episode, as always, Vlada.
I know,
Thank you
and I
so
might
much.
ask you. I might ask you, Anna,
Oh my God, you're gonna give me
about
my
your
homework. Well,
thoughts.
I will only appreciate it because that's the mentorship you've been talking about. By the
Right.
way, good that you mentioned that. I wanted to ask you if you offer any like formal mentorship to startups or founders who already like building their companies. Do you do anything like that? As right now you're an established founder, and I'm pretty sure everyone would love to learn from you.
On that, coming soon.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Something is
Yeah.
brewing.
But for now, make sure you follow me on LinkedIn, and feel free to reach out and DM with different questions you have, and I'll make sure to answer. And by the way, if you have other questions about product market fit, make sure that you sign up for my newsletter as well, which is Founders Elevator. And in the next issue, we'll be sharing a lot of practical methodologies and questions, all in written form.
And guys, if you would like to upgrade your communication skills, your power skills, and your soft skills, you can subscribe to my newsletter, which is called Power Skills for Success, to contribute to your formal learnings that you learn from Vlada, with the interpersonal skills development that you can learn from me.
Amazing.
And
I'm
that's a wrap.
going to sign up right now, Anna. Thank you guys. Have a
That's a
wonderful
wrap. That's a
day, and
wrap.
see you
Thanks,
next
everyone.
Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern.